create a hashtag strategy with like 5 to 10 hashtags and really research them. I like to use Instagram to research my hashtags the most. LinkedIn also does a lot of hashtags too. So choose some and then click on them and really look in the feed to see what is at the top of these feeds. Like say that you're looking for like
Alrighty, it is time to stop hitting snooze and awaken to a life worth being, the fun and inspiring podcast that dives deep into what makes life truly fulfilling. I'm your host, Sue Willoughby, a self-proclaimed badass transformational life coach for women over 40. Join me as I explore the extraordinary journeys of ordinary people who've transformed their lives from the inside out. Tune in weekly to uncover the secrets to smashing through your perceived limits and creating a life that's not just well lived, but totally worth being. Welcome to another fabulous episode of A Life Worth Being. Today, my guest is Peg Fitzpatrick. Peg is a social media strategist, speaker, and author of The Art of Small Business Social Media, which is a blueprint for marketing success, which I can't wait because I have her all to myself and I'm just going to pick her brain until she makes me stop. With over a decade of experience, she's worked with some of the top brands like Canva, Audi, Motorola, Plimpton Hotels, and TJ Maxx, helping them create impactful social media strategies. As the former head of social, let me see if I can get this right. The head of social strategy at Canva, Peg was crucial in building the brand's early social presence. Peg is dedicated to helping small businesses and entrepreneurs succeed online through purposeful, effective social media strategies. Wow, that's a mouthful.
Now the podcast is over. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Exactly. Her practical tips and actionable advice empower business owners to simplify their social media efforts, connect with their target audience, and stand out in competitive markets. Yes, thanks for listening, everyone. And thank you, Peg, for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to have this conversation.
Me too. Because as a, solopreneur and, a coach and all this other stuff, I know the value of social media and also the struggle with social media, and whether you have someone helping you or you're trying to do it yourself. A lot of times it's like throwing spaghetti at a wall. So I just want to start out with, you've been part of some, with some heavy hitters. Audi, Motorola, Plimpton Hotel. And I noticed that on your website, you're a brand ambassador. And I want to find out a little bit more about that as well. So tell me, like, after working for all these big brands, especially like Canva's huge. It's like everybody you talk to, like, oh, Canva, use Canva, this,
Yeah.
They took off. They're just crazy. What makes you want to work with small businesses and solopreneurs, entrepreneurs? Tell me about that.
Okay. So when I started working for Canva, they were a teeny tiny small business. I was like, Guy Kawasaki and I were like employees 24 and 25 of Canva. So when I worked with them, they were teeny. They had a very small little office that was awesome. And they were trying to get people to find out who they were, basically just like all small businesses. So that was, one thing I started when they were small. But the reason that I like to work with small businesses is because they can't afford to work with people usually. So what happens is I get emails from people saying, I looked at your website. It looks like you could help me. I have a florist, small business that I'm starting and I need help. And it's like, I could help them, but they can't afford me. And, at scale. So instead of trying to, I do have a blog where I write a lot of stuff. I have written on my blog since like 2010. There is a lot of information for small businesses there. But I wrote the book for small businesses because during the pandemic, especially, they were closing all over the place. And small businesses are the heart of our communities. They're our neighbors and there are, it's someone's dream. Like every time you see a small business open, it's like, wow, somebody wanted to make, whatever business that is. And it's awesome. But then when they close, it's the reverse of that. It's like, someone's dream business. And my daughter had a pandemic wedding, which was a challenge. And her little bridal salon was like in our downtown area. It was totally beautiful, but she started it exactly the wrong time to start a small business. And then it was during the pandemic, and then weddings stopped happening. She couldn't get her stuff shipped in because
Mm,
of all the shipping problems, and her small business closed. And now our community doesn't have a bridal
mm,
shop anymore. So my daughter was really lucky. She got to go have that experience where you go try all the dresses on, and you know, so anyway, it's like that small business to me is everything. And small businesses are in big cities, small towns, they're everywhere. It's not just small towns, but I do love small
yeah.
businesses.
Same
Um,
here. Same here.
yeah, I'm in a small town and I grew up in a small town. So to me, it's like helping the underdog, right? So I mean, I could work with Target and help Target, but they have a million people in their marketing department. What do they need from me? Nothing. But small businesses definitely need help. Like you were saying, you're like one person working on things. And so I took all the experience that I've had over the past like 14 or 15 years working in social media, and I just boiled it all down into this book from like the beginning to the end, how to do everything. And it's very evergreen content. It's not things, if you could Google the how to do whatever, it's really not in there. It's the evergreen pieces of like how to really build your brand and how to create a brand that works and how to get your message across and all of the pieces that from the beginning to the end.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
So I just
So,
I just love small businesses.
your book's not out yet,
No,
correct? It
November
did get a
19th.
big sale. Okay.
Yep.
So that's coming right up. I mean, that's like,
It's
a little over
totally
a month
coming up.
away. Yeah. Are you excited?
I'm so excited. I'm going to have the biggest sigh of relief when it comes out because I worked on it for a really long time
Mhm.
before I put it out. And then I I sold it to McGraw-Hill Business. And while it was in production, I was working with the editor. They closed down their business division. So
Oh,
like it's a small business story in itself. So that closed down, and then I had to go back to my agent, and my agent sold it to a different publisher. And so now I'm working with Roman and Littlefield, which hooray for them. And then during that process, they got purchased by Bloomsbury, excuse me, Publishing, which is a very large company in the UK that they bought Harry Potter. So they bought
oh,
Harry Potter, and they also own my book. So my book and Harry Potter, totally the same.
perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Love
so
it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I'm so excited for it to come out because I mean, it's hard to publish a book. It's hard to get a book published.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, a lot of people go to self-publishing, but okay, that's a whole
Hmm.
nother rat hole we can go down for
Yes.
sure. For sure. So you did say that, you like to help small businesses, but
Hmm.
at the same time, like in the same breath, you said, but they can't afford me.
Right. Because and
So
I don't really I
you don't do
now at this
one-on-one.
point I don't take any clients.
Gotcha. Okay.
But there, like I say that, and then sometimes I'll get somebody send me an email saying, "We know you said you're not working with clients, but can you help us do whatever?" And it'll be like a really big, like an airline,
Okay.
an airline. And I was like, "Well," and then I'll just send like a really big quote, like they will never accept this, and then they're
Yeah.
like, "We'll take it," and I'm like, "Darn it!"
Yeah.
Then I have to do it.
So
So
the best way that you help small businesses is through the content that you've already created and through your
yes,
new book. Is that correct?
yes, correct. Yes,
Mm,
I don't actually take any clients any longer.
gotcha. How come?
You know
Just
what? I
very
have worked
curious.
it if in the past, all the time that I've been working, I've always worked for one company, and I've done all these other things on the side.
Mhm.
So I've always worked for a German chemical company. So I literally have a full-time job. all
Oh,
the other things, all the other things I've done have been like on the side. And also I worked with Motorola and did a phone launch all around South America, and worked with Guy Kawasaki and wrote a book with him. And so
yeah.
I really do have a full-time job. And you know, you can only work 3 or 4 jobs for so many years, and then you're like, you know what, it's a lot. So I finally just am like, you know what, I'm just gonna. I say that, but then I'll probably start writing something else. I I'm a creative person, so I like to write and do things. That's like where my passion is right now, more than taking client work, which is hard. Client
Mhm.
do like helping a client, doing consulting calls or something like that. I probably could set that up in the future, where you do a call with someone for like an hour and do that kind of thing. But I've just done so much of it. I really just like wanted to write this book, and the book launch process it's a very long and hard process because you literally are doing it all yourself. Even when
Right.
you're working for a publisher, I'm booking the any signings that I'm doing all the podcast tour. I'm doing, then I have to then I'll be promoting all the things from my podcast tour. So it's a lot. Like this whole process is going to be, even though it's only November 19th, but it'll still go beyond then.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
there's a lot. Doing a book is a whole, it is a whole business. Being an author is a whole business itself.
Right. Cool. All
So,
right. Well, let's talk about it. I'm giving you some stuff there. Um, so let's talk about, back to the content of your book.
hmm
So, as a solopreneur or as a small business, especially with, maybe not brick and mortar, but online businesses as well, I'm sure your content's applicable to that as well, correct?
hmm
Okay,
hmm
because you're talking about social media strategies. So that's
Right.
where, whether you have a brick and mortar or whether you have a coaching business like I do, or
Yep.
whatever it is.
Or a print on demand shop. Those are so popular right now.
Yeah, yeah, print all kinds of weird stuff on your coffee mugs and shirts and stuff.
People are making a lot of money doing that now.
Okay, well, I'll just go down that little path. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I mean, it really, they are like with Etsy shop. So people are
Mhm.
doing an Etsy shop and then they make all these things. You don't have to
Okay,
have all the stuff. It's print on
right.
demand. And then, but then you have to market that thing. Then you create your social presence to share your whatevers that you make.
So
Stickers.
what so what are your most effective social media strategies for small businesses that someone can, you know, implement quickly and see some sort of, ROI or some sort of, what, and also I'd like to know, is it organic? Do you, you know, paid traffic?
I do
Help me
everything, or
understand.
I do everything organic. I know that
Okay.
you can do paid stuff, but
Mhm.
I like to do organic stuff. That's just
Okay.
always what I've done. I've done a little bit of ad stuff here and there, but for the most part, everything that I recommend is organic. Because I kind of learned a lesson with the company that I work for doing Facebook ads to get likes and to grow the page and
Mhm.
things. It turned out that those really weren't customers that were going to be
Mm,
people for our product. So I just learned, yes, you can target audiences and you could do things, but that doesn't mean that those people are going to buy from you once you build the audience with ads. Um, it has all progressed a lot since then. That was
mhm.
quite a while ago when I did that. But, um, I think today the main thing is not to try to grow bigger following, but to grow the right following. And
Yes.
if you're a small business that has a brick and mortar, you want them all to be local. If you're a
Mhm.
coach, like you're saying, if you're selling coaching services, then you want to reach the right people. So then you're trying to reach your exact people. Like for my book, it's for small business owners, it's for small businesses. So
Right.
that's who my target audience is. And that's it. I didn't write this for social media teams. I didn't write this for like it's targeted 100% to small businesses. And I stuck with that. And that's all I talk about in my social for this. So that's like one of the things is to make sure that you have for your strategy is to make sure that you really know who you're trying to reach.
Yes.
Because I think small businesses sometimes think, well, I just want to reach everyone. I want
Yeah.
everyone to follow me. And those people aren't going to be your customers. And if you're trying to create this generic message, it ends up being a generic message that doesn't speak to the right people. And now people are using AI to do a lot of things. And if you're not really savvy with it, then you're getting a generic AI message. And that's going to be even further off of who your target audience is. So rolling it all the way back to the beginning and really figure out who are your customers, who is the audience that you want to reach, and and how are you going to reach them? What's the demographic for them? Like for you, for coaching, you coach for women. Like, are you specifically coaching for
Yeah.
women that are
Women
over
over 40.
40? Okay.
Yes. Mhm.
So that's perfect, right? You know exactly who they are. You know exactly,
Yeah.
this is exactly. So then all your language is geared towards this. And then you just, you work it into everything that you're doing. Like, are you an over 40 women try, are you trying to create your next act in, your kids have grown up, you just hit that stage where you have the empty nest. What is the next thing that you're going to do? Like, this is who you're trying to reach. And then where are you going to find these people? You can find these people on Pinterest. You can find these people on Facebook. You can find them on LinkedIn. So then just, figure out where your audience is, and then just you're targeting that audience. And then you get into things like keywords. So then, you're reaching, you're coaching over 40 women, and those are the keywords that you're going to make sure that you put in titles of things, in the body of things, and in your hashtags. And then you have a hashtag strategy that you can create for your small business. Create a hashtag strategy with like 5 to 10 hashtags and really research them. I like to use Instagram to research my hashtags the most. LinkedIn also does a lot of hashtags too. So choose some and then click on them and really look in the feed to see what is at the top of these feeds. Like, say that you're looking for like female entrepreneurs, like click on that. What is in there? Does it look like the people who are going to be your customers or people who are in your niche? So just, you have to really do kind of a deep dive on hashtags to really make sure, but you really only kind of need to do that once. Do like a big hashtag project for yourself and just
Mhm.
really research them. You can use AI to help with that. Like, say, I am a blah, 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 blah. Can you give me, with really strong SEO for Google and for social media, these are the people that I want to reach. Give me some suggested hashtags, and then take those and look at them in like Pinterest, look at them in LinkedIn. You could look at them in Google too. So just do a little. Have you ever done that for yourself? Done like a hashtag strategy?
Not that focused, but yes,
Yeah,
I do, there's definitely that exercise. I mean, I there are certain hashtags that resonate more than others. But let me just,
right.
while we're talking about that, I mean, you've mentioned Pinterest and
Hmm.
LinkedIn. So I have been focusing on Instagram, for
Okay.
example, and
Yes.
I have a fair number of followers.
Hmm.
It's not in the 5 digits, but so I've got about 6,000 followers, which is
Yeah,
not
it's
bad.
good.
But then it's like, how many of those are my actual target customers?
Right.
Um, and then so that's one thing, right? When you're
Hmm.
saying you don't have to, but sometimes you get followers and you don't like, well, I don't know if they're going to be converting or
Right.
not. And then
And it's fine if they don't. I mean, maybe they're not all gonna 100% convert, but you want to think about that when you're creating all your content, and just be
right.
really, if you're really clear in your messaging,
Hmm.
really super clear, and I feel like the right people are gonna follow you, right?
Right. So let me ask you this. So when we are talking about different platforms, if like
Hmm.
I have a lot of followers on Instagram, but yet I want to build TikTok and LinkedIn and Pinterest. Let's say Pinterest. Let's take TikTok out of the thing because that's a little bit more like Instagram. So Pinterest and LinkedIn, I don't know that much about. Right?
Hmm.
Would you take a different approach to
Yes.
different platforms than
Yes.
because they have different demographics?
You definitely do. But say for your what I'm assuming that your main marketing content that you're creating is for your podcast, that and then you're creating other content around your podcast.
I'm creating content for my coaching business,
Yep.
and also, reaching out through the audiences that I reach through being either a guest on podcasts
Yep.
or and my own podcast as well.
Right. And then people who are on your show sharing your stuff too.
Yeah, yeah,
Hopefully.
yeah,
I
yeah. You
don't know
got it.
what percentage of people do, but I will. But I don't know about other people. So let's take Pinterest for example.
Mhm.
So Pinterest is a perfect place, honestly, to reach your audience because it has a very high um, demographic for women. Women are there's more women than men. And there are younger people on there too now, but 40 and up women 100% are there. So you can make a Pinterest presence and use your name. And then in your bio, you would also list that you're a coach, for over women over 40, list, host of your podcast name. And then I can't remember how many characters you have for that bio. It's not super huge, but you just would have all that in there. And then think
Mhm.
about that you would create your boards are next. So Pinterest is created Each thing that you create is called a pin, and then each pin goes onto a board. So you can create boards for different things. And so you could have a board just for your Pinterest, I'm sorry, just for your podcast. So that would
Okay.
just be all your podcast interviews and all the different things that you create there. You can share video there, and you can share graphics there. You can't do any text only posts, but you could post your videos, and then every single thing that you create, even the videos, can link back to something. So podcast, you can link that all back to, Apple Podcasts or your landing page on your website,
Or
wherever you
YouTube.
want, or
Or
YouTube,
YouTube.
right?
Yeah.
Anywhere, can link wherever you want it to. You can also set it up so your Instagram content that you're creating posts automatically to Pinterest.
Hmm.
So you could have everything go to one board that's just like, you could just come up with a name for it, like with your, um, I named mine like something about Instagram, just so, but anyway, you can have those automatically go over there. Then you can have a separate board for your coaching. And then your coaching, then you can create content. You could even create just a graphic like 1000 by 1500 pixels is if you go into
We're
Canva.
getting specific here, folks. Yeah, I told you I'd be
So
brain.
specific. So specific. But you could go into Canva, and there's tons of templates for Pinterest. And you could just go and do Pinterest coaching, and then it will come up with a whole bunch of templates and give you choices if you don't already have your own stuff set up. And then you can do pins that are just, you know, what your ideal audience, what do they come to you for coaching for? And then you can just create different graphics that would like speak to that person and
Mhm.
write something about it. So you don't do like a huge amount of text on there. It's kind of like
Right.
a title, a subtitle, and then like find out more here, book here, something like that. So you could create some that are just for your coaching. And then
Right.
if you have just blog content, you can do one for that. And then you can do other boards. You don't want to just have two or three boards, usually like 10 boards maybe, and you could
Hmm.
just keep it really focused all on business things. Like you
Okay.
could have one that's like social media for, you know female entrepreneurs. I have one that's called just creative entrepreneurs. It's just all. So I use my Pinterest as like, I create a resource for people who would consume my content. So small businesses can come
Mhm.
to my Pinterest, and they'll find, you know how to use Instagram. There's boards on how to use Pinterest. There's just stuff that's small business stuff. And then there's entrepreneur, there's how to use Canva. So I have all different kinds of boards in there. I personally also use my Pinterest for my personal things. Some boards are secret, so not everything is there, but some people recommend only doing your business only. But I feel like Pinterest likes to see you as a full person.
Mhm.
But just know that everything that's on your Pinterest, like if it's public, then anybody that comes there would see that.
Right.
So you can use Pinterest in a lot of different ways. Like I said, as a resource board. So if you're working with coaching clients, and you're going to give them advice on how to do these things, you could create a Pinterest board that kind of had some of those resources there. So then you can share that as a resource.
Okay.
So it's a really great place to grow. And again, it's a place where you use keywords, because it's like a search and discovery engine is what they call themselves, because
Awesome.
people go there to be inspired and to learn how
Mhm.
to do things. And so it's a little bit different than Instagram, where it's more entertainment on
Right.
Instagram with reels now. Pinterest is more, people go there for an idea. Like, it's your ideal person. She's 48 years old, and she's looking for help on how to find the next step in her career. So she goes and she types in like career ideas for empty nesters or something. So that's where you would reach your people. So think about, you're kind of like reverse engineering, like what they would look for help. And then your Pinterest pins or your Pinterest board will show up. Does that
Great.
make sense?
Yeah. No, that's all makes sense. I'm sorry I didn't mean to, go into so much detail, but
Oh,
I was just
Pinterest
curious.
is my favorite. I love to
Oh,
talk about
I could
Pinterest.
tell. I have, I mean, there's been certain things that I haven't focused on, and I'm in
Yep.
the process of shifting things. So
Yeah.
the thing about social media, and I know that this is why a lot of entrepreneurs get overwhelmed, is
Hmm.
because there's so much. Like you said,
Yeah.
with Pinterest, there was a lot of things that you talked about there. And there's also distractions. We were always like, oh, what is today's strategy? What is the algorithm for that? So, I mean, there are trends, there's all kinds of stuff. What would you say for somebody like just starting out and they don't have that many followers? And I to your point, step number one is finding your niche and
Hmm.
really niching down on who you're talking to, what you're talking to
Yes.
them about, and so forth.
Yep.
So once they have that, what how can they stay out of getting washed away by all of the trends and all of the everything on social media?
Right.
Because it's overwhelming. I mean, there's
It is.
so many platforms like we just talked about.
Hmm.
Once you have your niche, I'm assuming maybe the next thing would be to like pick the platform or a couple of platforms because I
Probably
feel
just
like,
one. I mean, really, just
yeah,
starting with one is
yeah,
fine
yeah,
because if you try to do too many, then it's too confusing.
yes.
So you're going to pick the one. There's a couple reasons why you would pick the one. You're
Yeah.
not just going to pick TikTok because it's the most popular. First, think
Right.
about who your target audience is and where they're going to be, and where do you like to be? Like, what platform do you like that makes you feel like I can fit in here? Because TikTok does have people that get millions of views on things. Not most people, but some people. But the thing is, do you feel comfortable creating the content there? Do you feel like you can, TikTok is a very specific type of video, and even Reels are close to that now. So TikTok and Reels are very similar, but it's a different culture over there. It's very, one thing that's great about TikTok is that, it's like there's very specific areas of TikTok. There's like book talk and there's cooking talk and like book talk is amazing. Like that just overtook everything. And now, publishing decisions are made by people's TikTok and how many followers
Oh,
they have, and
wow.
they get book deals from it. So book talk is, and you go into like Barnes and Noble and big bookstores, they'll have tables that are just all the books that are trending on TikTok.
Wow. I
So
had no idea. Okay.
yeah, it's crazy. There's a couple of great New York Times articles on how it changed publishing. So TikTok is yes, it's a great place, but if that's not your thing, if you feel like, I don't think I can make those kind of short videos. I do some things there. I usually just make short form videos and then I also send it to Pinterest Reels and TikTok and YouTube Shorts because it's like the same type of video. But
Gotcha.
if you're brand new and you're starting out, you're not going to be doing things like that because it would be a little bit confusing. So you're going to pick the place where you feel like you can grow your audience. I never recommend Facebook anymore because it's so hard to reach new people there, even if you use
Mm,
hashtags, because people don't really use hashtags on Facebook, even though they work.
right.
So Instagram is a great place to start. And that LinkedIn is a great place to start too, because there's a lot of growth on LinkedIn. So depending on what you're selling and what kind of business you have. So I'm trying to like make it a little bit, it's not 100% like you have to go here or there, but say you were just starting out and you were doing coaching online, you knew exactly who your audience was. Maybe LinkedIn is the best place to go to grow. And then,
Mhm.
you're going to check that out. You're going to figure out I can post carousels on there. They kind of look like Instagram carousels. Everything can link to something. You can do some live videos. There's a lot of different products like within LinkedIn, just like there is on Instagram. So depending on who you're going to reach, maybe you're going to start on Instagram or maybe LinkedIn, but don't get overwhelmed with trying to do multiple. So if you feel like, it's not a professional crowd, like say you're a local small business, then Instagram is definitely the best place to start because
Mhm.
there you can tag your location, you can use hashtags for your location, you can connect with other small businesses around you and grow your business like that. So, depending on what your business is, you're just going to choose one so you're not overwhelmed because it is hard. And then to not go down the rabbit hole, which was something you mentioned at the beginning, make sure that you're just not consuming too much social media content. You can get overwhelmed and also like it could just make you scared to create content and post content if you're
Okay.
just looking a lot of content and then you follow too many people who are showing you how to do things. It gets very confusing.
Yes.
So try not to follow too many people who are just teaching you how to do things. Pick a couple and just stick with their message because otherwise you're going to get a lot of conflicting information, which is also confusing. And then choose what feels right to you. So if Instagram feels good, you're going to try that. Just you have to give it a little bit of time too.
Mhm.
So you want to schedule a time during the week when you can create some content and then schedule it out using a tool. So it's not as time consuming because if you're small business owner, you have a lot of things that you have to do. Social media usually is not your job. So you're not going to be on it all day. Otherwise, you won't get any of your other things done. So find a time when you can create your content, and then find a time when, if you schedule it, but you have to go every day and check things. Even if you auto post it, you got to go see if it posted right. Sometimes there's mistakes and things don't post.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, tools aren't perfect. So, go check to make sure it looks right. If you're tagging your location, make sure that's there. Answer any questions or comments, check your direct messages. So you do have to be on it a little bit of time every day when you're posting, just to check the messages, check comments, and then interact with other accounts that you're following. And then, yeah, I mean, then you just kind of go from there, for how much time you have. It's better to come up with like a strategy and plan like a week of content versus like, oh no, it's Tuesday, I haven't posted
Right.
anything, I have a sale this weekend. Then it becomes very stressful
Yeah.
if you don't have any plan.
So let me ask you that. I think the planning thing is great, and it's always hard to do. Like you
Hmm.
said, as an entrepreneur, like
Yeah.
you get pulled in a million different directions.
Yep.
But planning, batching, and that kind of thing is great.
Hmm.
Um, what about frequency?
Hmm.
So I mean, you hear all kinds of things. You got to post, and I think people get intimidated because they're like, "Oh, you got to
Yeah.
post 5 times a day, or you got to post every
Nobody,
day, or you got to do
entrepreneurs don't have time to post even three
right,
times a day. It's so hard. Like people who are like, just do 3 reels a day. Like I'm a
just
social
do
media professional, and if I get one done, I'm happy with myself. Three a
right,
day, no, thank you. It's
yeah,
way too much. There were people on TikTok that were like, just do 10 TikToks a day. Like, what? It takes so
what,
long to make a 6-second video. It does not take 6 seconds. It takes
right,
so long.
right,
It's actually harder the shorter it is because it has to be better and more concise. And
yep,
um, so wait, the question was frequency. Okay, got
yeah,
it. So frequency, I think again that in some ways that's going to depend on you and your business and how much time you have. So I don't think you have to say you're going to post every day because that's a lot. But say, let's just try Monday, Wednesday, and Friday and post consistently. And then give yourself the weekend off at the beginning to just see how you're doing. Unless you have a business that's open on the weekends and if you have a business like a fitness, if you're like a yoga instructor and you have classes every day, maybe you're only going to post once a week or twice a week as an Instagram post, but maybe you're going to post more stories because stories are what people are going to see every day. So maybe every day you're posting your schedule for your classes. And then the bigger posts, and then you could just make one template in Canva, and then just have Monday and have the classes and the days. So that's something where you could like batch process, the whole 7 days of your Instagram stories with the classes on it, and reuse that same one forever. So just make one really great thing, and people really love that. I mean, you think, are people going to get sick of seeing that? But no, they don't, because they love your yoga studio, and when they see it pop up in their story, they're going to say, oh, wait, there's a class tomorrow at whatever. And
yeah,
there's the link and
right,
I can sign up. Because that actually is a local yoga studio that I love. They do
okay,
that exact thing. And then I see it and I'm like, oh, yeah, I should schedule that. And they have a link set up. Oh, another thing is for small business owners, when say you choose your thing and you're going to be on Instagram, make sure that your bio is very complete so people know who you are, what you do, what your location is, all of those things. Because sometimes you just see that people don't really put that much in their bio, and then people don't know who you are. Even if it
right,
just says, if you just have your name and not even your location, it's really surprising how. I think it's because it's one of the first things that people do when they're brand new. So they're just not really sure that they need to put more like bio. I don't know what my bio is. And
yeah,
it's a little weird because it seems like a personal, like you're answering that for your personal account. Like this is your photo. Instead, it's your logo, and your bio is actually who your business is and who you serve. How can you help these people? If you can answer the question in your bio, like, who do you help? Who do you serve? That's going to help more people follow you too.
yeah, clarify exactly what's
Hmm.
going on.
Yeah.
And you did bring up a good point. Like, well, you talked about Pinterest, for example, and having some of your personal stuff up there, but not, stuff that you don't want people to see, obviously.
Right.
And I think another thing is, people that have been on social platforms as, hot dog 22 or whatever, nobody knows who Hot Dog 22 is, so you should try and be your name.
Sorry. That was
Okay,
a good one.
I've got 2 dachshunds, so, um, but they just came to mind. So I think the other thing is too, you put your name out there or,
Hmm.
or your business name or whatever it is so that people can be
Yeah.
like, "Oh, who the heck is Hot Dog 22 and what are they doing? Oh, they're a coach. Well, what kind of coach is Hot Dog 22?" Yeah, be like, start to create, like you said, your personal brand and it's
Hmm.
around you so people can know who you are
Hmm.
authentically, right?
Hmm.
And that would go along with having that bio specific
Right.
to
Right, because that might be all people see of you, right?
right.
You don't know if they're going to click through to your website. And boy, you'd be surprised how many people don't even have their website link. Add your website link. And if you're a local business that has hours, put your hours, and then if you do a link so people can see where your location is, all of those things. And even, if you are a local small business, create posts every once in a while to talk about your location and where you are and
Mhm.
tag the location and add the hashtags. And the location tag is a really great thing when you're a small business. So people find you that way too.
Yeah, I love that. I think all of it's great. And like I said, I mean, I've been doing it a little while, but I still get overwhelmed because I do
Hmm.
get pulled in different directions. And I think it's really hard to, put the blinders on and just be
Yeah.
like, okay, no, just keep doing this and don't keep changing things up too much. It
Right.
sounds like I'm just going to go back and kind of recap, right?
Hmm.
Figure out your niche, pick a platform or maybe 2 platforms, but not 10,
No.
uh, and be consistent,
Hmm.
right? And be consistent with your posting and your messaging so that whatever platform you're on, people are seeing the same thing. Is that what I'm
Right. Yeah,
understanding?
definitely. And
Yeah.
we're probably getting close to the end, but I mean that even ties in with like your like Canva creative
Mhm.
brand kit. So you want to have the same kind of visuals. So once you create like kind of a template for your brand of like your fonts and your colors, the same kind of goes for your messaging and your calls to action. You don't need to recreate the wheel every time. The consistency is what helps people learn who you are and trust who you are, and it goes a long way. People will follow you. And just also with the like getting overwhelmed thing, make sure that you're not following accounts that when you're going on, they're making you feel like stressed about social media. They're not the kind of accounts that are like hyping up hustle. You have to do this all the time and do that. If someone's telling you have to do XYZ or you're not going to be successful, those aren't the kind of accounts that you need to follow because it's too stressful for you. So make
Yeah.
sure that you're following accounts that don't make you have a negative feeling when you leave the platform, whatever the negative feeling for you is. That's one of the things I love the most about Pinterest is everything there is positive. There's no political ads, there's no political conversation. And it's
Right.
really kind of your own world when you're there. And, you go into your home feed and you look at things and it's all, once you've been using it for a while, it really like shows you just what you want to see. Like I went gluten free and dairy free like in January, and all the recipes it shows me now are all things that are gluten free and dairy free. It doesn't show me things that I can't eat anymore, which
That's
is
pretty
pretty
cool. Yeah.
amazing. I mean
Dangling pizza in front of you or something.
it's gluten free pizza. It's
Oh,
okay.
there you go. There you go. Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
but it's just, I mean, so it's just like a cautionary thing because social
Mhm.
media can, it is over, I was gonna say it can feel overwhelming, but it is overwhelming. It can be overwhelming. There's a lot of people, there's a lot of content, and it's kind of all, you go and it seems like everybody else has their act together and everybody else is
Right.
doing all of this. So make sure that you're not letting all of that overwhelm you. There's tons of great places that you can learn things. You can type things in Pinterest to figure out how to do stuff on social media. You can go to YouTube and get YouTube videos on how to do things. So there's a lot of ways that you can learn. You can read books. But there's a lot of places that you can learn how to do things. So just like choose one and kind of like stick with that. Try not to switch what you're doing too often because I feel like you're not giving things time to work. So
Okay.
don't feel like you need to
Great.
always jump on to the next thing. Like be consistent and stick with it and see how it does take a little while to get things working, and algorithms change and then you get less interaction. But sometimes you have to change what you're doing. But if you're just starting out, just like pick how long you have to work on social media, and then just create your plan and be consistent, and you will see results.
I think that's great advice. Yeah, thanks, Peg.
Hmm.
Because it's very overwhelming and it is time consuming. And like
Yeah.
I said, judging yourself or putting yourself up against, some influencer who's got 8 million, you don't need 8 million followers.
No. And at that point they have a team of people too.
Well,
You know,
exactly.
once you
Exactly.
get once you get to a certain level, people all have they've hired people and they're doing,
Yeah.
so that's a lot different than a small business owner that's doing
Yeah.
it all themselves. Hank
Yeah.
Green, I was just watching a thing with Hank Green, who's a huge YouTuber. He's been around forever. He said he has like 100 employees at this point that do different things, but I mean he's got a lot of people.
Yeah.
He's got video editors and social people, and he still does a lot himself, but I mean, when
It's
people get to a
different.
certain level, they hire people. So,
So, yeah. So what I tell like my clients is stay in your lane, mind
yep.
your business, your literal business in this case,
Yeah.
and just keep moving forward and taking those
Hmm.
small steps. I mean, that to me, I mean, that's what I tell my clients. And you just gotta stick with it and be
Yep.
patient. I think
Yeah.
you
Great
mentioned be
advice.
patient as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. So your book is coming out once again,
November
November
19th. 19th.
November 19th. Okay.
Yeah.
If people want to, now I know you don't work one-on-one with people, but if people want to find out more about you and
Yeah.
what what is the best way for someone to find out more about you, find out more about your strategies aside from buying your book when it comes out on
Hmm.
the 19th? Where's the best place to find you?
My website is pegfitzpatrick.com. I have a lot of blog posts. I don't
Okay.
know, hundreds of blog posts. And I'm also on social media. So, if you're on Instagram, you can follow me. I'm at Peg Fitzpatrick and on all the social channels. So,
Okay.
um,
I'm
I'm
going to go check
around.
out your
So,
Pinterest because I'm very curious about Pinterest these days.
yeah, I love Pinterest. So you'll
Yeah.
you'll see I have a lot of good resources there.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you so much. This has been hugely valuable for me personally, but also I think for a lot of other people too, because, you know, everybody thinks like, oh, I don't want to make some stupid dance video, or I don't want to
Right.
look like a fool, or I don't want to do this. But, what you're saying is so true. You don't have to. If you just show up and be yourself, which is how people are going to relate to you anyway, and
Hmm.
if you're talking to the right people will find you. Is the way I
Absolutely.
kind of interpret what all of your messaging has
Yeah,
said. Yeah,
exactly. Well,
cool.
thank you so much for having me. This is super fun.
Yeah, it was really fun, and maybe we'll have to have you back on after your book comes out and see how
Awesome.
things are going. So, all right.
Great.
Thank you so much for being on today, Peg.
Thank
And as
you.
always, everyone, thank you so much for listening and being part of the community and learning from all of my guests. And have a great day. And don't forget to awaken a life worth being. Thank you for listening to today's episode of A Life Worth Being. I hope you found it fun and inspiring. And to avoid a bad case of FOMO, please be sure to click that subscribe button. If you love what you heard today, please share it with a friend and then hop on over to your favorite podcast platform and return the love with a wonderful review and 5-star rating. It would truly mean the world to me. Be sure to follow me on Instagram and on my website, links below in the show notes. I appreciate you, and I will see you next week for more fresh insights on awakening a life worth being.